Maya did not reach for the label again. Not yet. She straightened slowly, letting the room see her empty hands, because if she grabbed at the floor like a beggar fighting for scraps, Celeste would win the picture before the truth ever had a chance. The laughter thinned when Maya looked at her, calm enough to make people uncomfortable. "You tore my dress," Maya said. Celeste tilted her head. "I exposed it." A judge at the front table cleared his throat, but he did not stand. The photographers kept their cameras raised. That was the part Maya noticed most. Not the laughter, the watching, the way people waited for somebody with more money to decide whether cruelty was allowed. Behind Celeste, the young intern with the bandaged palm stood near a rack of gowns, face pale, lips pressed tight. Celeste glanced back at her. "And you," she said, voice sweet again. "After this embarrassment, I hope you understand why some people are not built for high standards." The intern's shoulders folded inward. Maya saw the girl's fingers shaking around the headset cord. It would have been easy to stay silent. Maya had already lost her place in the finalist walk order. Her dress was damaged. Every phone in the room had found her face. She could still swallow the insult, pick up the label, and pray someone remembered her number later. Instead, she stepped between Celeste and the intern. "She didn't drop the crystal box," Maya said. The intern's eyes widened. Celeste's smile hardened. "Excuse me? I said she didn't drop it." Maya turned slightly, not enough to make it a private conversation. "I told your assistant earlier it was my fault because you were about to fire her in front of everyone. I bumped the rack." She tried to catch it. A murmur moved through the ballroom. Celeste let out a short laugh. "So now you admit you damaged royal property?" Maya's throat tightened, but she nodded once. Yes, it was not the whole truth, and Celeste knew it. The rack had shifted because one of Celeste's garment bags had been shoved into the walkway, but Maya had stepped forward anyway. She had chosen the girl's job over her own clean name. Now the choice had teeth. Celeste turned toward the judges. "Then I believe finalist 12 should be disqualified. Not only is she dressed in second-hand scraps, she has admitted to damaging event materials and interfering with staff discipline." The head judge looked down at his papers. Another judge avoided Maya's eyes. Mrs. Ingrid Shaw, elegant in navy silk, lifted her pen and made a note. "Miss Brooks," Ingrid said, "until we review the incident, you will be removed from the competitive presentation." The words struck harder than the laughter. Removed, not questioned, not reviewed with her present. Removed. The intern made a small sound, like she was about to confess, but Maya reached back and touched her wrist once. "Don't. Not here." Not while Celeste controlled the room. Celeste saw the gesture. Her gaze dropped to Maya's hand, then to the open seam where the old label had been torn away. For the first time, Maya noticed Celeste was not looking at the thrift store tag. She was looking inside the dress, at the copper-black stitches hidden beneath the lining. Recognition flashed again, sharp and ugly. Then Celeste stepped closer, lowering her voice so only Maya could hear. "You should have stayed in alterations." Maya's fingers curled around the torn edge of her dress. "You should have left that girl alone." Celeste smiled wider, then turned back to the room. "Security, please escort Miss Brooks to the service area until the board decides whether she should remain on the property." 2 guards moved in. Maya walked before they could touch her. Each step felt loud against the marble. The intern whispered, "I'm sorry." But Maya did not turn, because if she did, the room would see the hurt break through her face. At the side doors, she finally bent and picked up something Celeste had not noticed. Not the thrift store label, but a tiny copper-black thread pulled loose from the torn seam. Maya wrapped it around her finger like a ring. Across the ballroom, Prince Malik watched the thread catch the chandelier light, and his expression changed from concern to certainty. But before he could move, Ingrid Shaw announced into the microphone, "The Royal Designer Showcase will continue." Celeste walked toward the stage with Maya's stolen sketch folder tucked beneath her assistant's arm. The service corridor behind the ballroom smelled like hot metal, hairspray, and roses that had been cut too early. Maya stopped beside a laundry cart and pressed her palm against the wall. Not because she was weak, but because her body needed 1 second to understand what had just been taken from her. Through the doors, applause rose for another designer. It sounded clean and expensive. She looked down at the copper-black thread wrapped around her finger. It was the same thread she had bought from a closing fabric shop on Auburn Avenue. The last spool in a cracked plastic bin. The kind no luxury house would admit using until it appeared under bright lights. "Miss Brooks." The voice came from the end of the corridor. Maya turned. Prince Malik stood there without the microphone, without the board members, without the easy distance that powerful people usually kept. Up close, he looked younger than the portraits in the program, but not softer. His eyes moved first to her torn seam, then to the thread around her finger. He did not ask if she was all right. Maybe he knew that question would be too small. "Did Celeste touch your sketch folder?" he asked. Maya's face tightened. "Why would you ask that?" He stepped closer, but stopped several feet away, giving her room. "Because the dress she is about to present has a hem pattern I saw once before." Maya's breath caught, but she covered it by smoothing the side of her dress. "A lot of people use patterns. Not like that." He reached inside his jacket and pulled out a small black card with a gold crown broken down the center. "Not a business card. Passkey. I fund the Young Designers Grant through a private trust. The finalists were submitted blind. No names, no photos, only portfolios." Maya stared at the card. The words did not land all at once. They came like pins through cloth. Private trust. Blind portfolios. He had seen her work before tonight. "You knew my designs?" "I knew finalist 12, he said. "I did not know it was you until you walked in." A door opened behind them, and Malik immediately slid the card back into his jacket. A catering worker pushed through with a tray of untouched salads, barely glancing at them. Malik waited until the wheels squeaked around the corner. "I cannot announce that yet." Maya laughed once, but there was no humor in it. "Of course you can't." "Not because I don't want to." His voice lowered. "Because if I step onto that stage and say I recognize your work without the review packet being opened by the board, Celeste will turn this into a prince choosing a pretty underdog over a respected designer. The foundation rules are strict for a reason. One wrong move and every young designer in that grant loses protection." Maya looked at him then, really looked. The gold pin on his lapel was not shaped like a crown. It was a sewing needle bent through a broken crown. Strange for a prince. Stranger for a sponsor. "So what am I supposed to do?" she asked. "Disappear politely?" Before he answered, a phone buzzed in his hand. He glanced at the screen, and his jaw tightened. On the display was a message from Ingrid Shaw. "Celeste Vaughn requests immediate review of finalist 12's removal. Possible plagiarism concern." Maya saw only part of it, but it was enough. "Plagiarism?" she whispered. Malik turned the screen away, not to hide it from her, but from anyone passing. "That is why I came before they locked the narrative." He pulled a folded copy of the showcase program from his pocket and opened to the finalist page. Number 12 had no name, only a design title. "Second Stitch." A ball gown made from what people throw away. Beneath it was a tiny thumbnail of Maya's original sketch. Her hands went cold. The sketch in the program had one detail missing, a copper-black spiral under the left hip, the mark she had added later by hand. Celeste's gown on stage, if it had that spiral, could not be coincidence. It would mean she had taken more than inspiration. A burst of applause shook the corridor walls. Celeste had just been introduced. Maya moved toward the ballroom doors, but Malik reached out, not touching her, only blocking the path with his body. "If you go in angry, they will make your anger the story." Maya's eyes burned, but her voice stayed low. "Then help me make the truth the story." For the first time, Malik looked past her toward the stage with something harder than concern. "I need proof that survives money." From inside the ballroom, Celeste's voice floated through the speakers, smooth as silk. "This collection was born from my belief that true elegance can elevate even discarded things." Maya looked down at her torn seam. The loose thread tightened around her finger. Then we start with what she forgot to steal. Maya did not wait for Malik to lead her like someone being rescued. She turned first, walking past the silver food carts, past the guards who had been ready to escort her out, and straight toward the restricted atelier wing behind the ballroom. Malik followed half a step behind, close enough to open doors, far enough not to own her movement. The atelier was nothing like the service hallway. Inside, the air was cool and still. Long glass tables held silk folded like water. Gold scissors rested in velvet trays. A wall of imported thread rose from floor to ceiling in perfect color order, each spool labeled in small brass type. Maya paused only once, not in awe but in calculation. The whole room had more equipment than every sewing corner she had ever rented combined. At the center stood Mrs. Ingrid Shaw, the head judge, with a clipboard pressed against her ribs like armor. Her navy gown had not wrinkled all night. Her face had not softened either. "Your Highness," she said, "this room is not open to disqualified participants." Maya answered before Malik could. "Then don't treat me like a participant. Treat me like a seamstress." Ingrid looked at her torn dress, her thrifted heels, the thread wrapped around her finger. "We already have staff. Not for what's about to happen." A sharp sound cut through the room. Near the mannequin platform, two assistants held up a white ceremonial cloak with a long split down the back panel. The fabric had torn from shoulder to waist, right through the embroidered crest that would be auctioned for the children's hospital before midnight. One assistant looked sick. Another kept whispering, "We can hide it with the cape chain." Maya stepped closer without asking permission. The embroidery was raised gold thread over ivory silk, too delicate for a rushed machine stitch. Whoever repaired it badly would leave a scar under every camera flash. Ingrid blocked her path with one hand. This cloak was made by the Royal Atelier in London. Maya looked at the rip. "And damaged in Atlanta." Malik's mouth almost moved, but he stayed silent. "Good." Maya needed the room to hear her, not his title. She pointed to the crest. "If you pull the seam closed, the crown will warp. If you patch it from underneath, the silk will pucker. You need to turn the tier into part of the design." Ingrid's eyes narrowed. "You have 20 minutes before the auction segment." Maya glanced at the wall of thread, then at the bins beneath the cutting table. "Then I need copper organza, black gold thread, a curved needle, steam, and every scrap from Celeste Vaughn's and used trim box." One of Celeste's assistants stiffened. "Miss Vaughn's materials are private." Maya looked at her. "So was my sketch folder." The room went quiet. Ingrid's pen stopped moving. Malik finally spoke, not loudly. "Give her the scraps." Ingrid turned to him. "If this fails, the foundation absorbs the embarrassment." Maya reached for the torn cloak. "No. If this fails, put my name on it. Not the foundation. Not him." That made Ingrid look at her differently, not kindly, but carefully. Maya laid the cloak flat and began to work. Her fingers moved fast, folding copper organza beneath the split so the tier glowed instead of gaped. She stitched black gold thread along the broken crown, not hiding the damage, shaping it into a crown cracked down the middle and mended with light. The young intern from earlier slipped in silently and set a small box beside Maya. "Curved needles," she whispered. Maya nodded once. "No speeches. No tears. Just work." Through the open doorway, Celeste's voice still floated from the stage, selling stolen humility to rich applause. Then her voice stopped. Maya felt it before she looked up. Celeste stood at the atelier entrance, eyes fixed on the cloak, then on Maya's hands, then on the copper-black spiral forming along the royal crest. For the first time that night, Celeste did not smile. Her assistant leaned close and murmured, "She's using the same stitch." Celeste's gaze dropped to Maya's wrapped finger, where the loose thread still caught the light like a warning. "How interesting," Celeste said softly. "The seamstress wants another chance to copy greatness." Maya pulled the needle through the silk and did not look away. "No," she said, "I'm giving your greatness something to be afraid of." The last stitch disappeared beneath Maya's fingertips just as the ballroom orchestra shifted into a slower piece. She laid the needle down without ceremony and stepped back from the ceremonial cloak. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Under the bright atelier lights, the long tier no longer looked hidden. It looked transformed. The fractured royal crest now carried a slender copper-black seam running through its center, not as a scar, but as a deliberate design that made the gold embroidery seem stronger where it had once been broken. One of the senior tailors reached out instinctively, then stopped before touching it. "That's impossible," he murmured. Maya shook her head. "No. It's repair. There's a difference." Ingrid Shaw circled the mannequin once, her expression unreadable. She crouched to inspect the underside of the embroidery. No exisnats. No rushed machine marks. Every stitch had been locked by hand. She stood again and looked directly at Maya. "How long have you been doing couture work?" Maya wiped her hands with a linen cloth before answering. "I've never worked in couture." Ingrid frowned. "Then where did you learn this finish?" Maya smiled faintly. "Fixing clothes people couldn't afford to replace teaches you things expensive fabric never will." Across the room, Prince Malik watched the exchange without interrupting. Earlier that evening, he had seen a woman publicly humiliated because of a thrift store label. Now he was watching the same woman quietly educate people who had spent decades inside luxury houses. The contrast settled heavily in the room. One of the museum directors approached the mannequin and adjusted his glasses. "This cloak photographs better now than before it was damaged." Another judge nodded despite himself. "The repaired line draws your eye toward the crest instead of away from it." Maya simply gathered the loose thread trimmings into a neat pile. She had spent too many years cleaning up after herself in other people's workshops to leave a mess now. Malik walked over carrying 2 glasses of water instead of champagne. He handed one to Maya without a word. She accepted it, surprised not by the gesture itself but by the absence of performance. He had waited until the judges finished examining the cloak. He had not used the moment to look generous. She drank half the glass in one breath before realizing how dry her throat had become. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You earned water," Malik replied. "Not applause." Maya almost laughed. "That's probably the nicest thing anyone has said to me tonight." Before he answered, the young intern hurried toward them carrying a flat portfolio she had rescued from beneath another work table. "Miss Brooks, I think this belongs to you." Maya opened it immediately. Most of her sketches were still inside, though several pages had been removed. She turned each sheet carefully. Dress studies, sleeve variations, fabric notes. Then she stopped. One page contained the original concept drawing for the thrift store gown, but someone had folded the corner back. On the reverse side, written in blue tailoring chalk rather than ink, was a production notation she had never shown anyone outside her neighborhood sewing group. "Always leave one imperfect stitch where only the maker will find it." Her grandmother had taught her that years ago. It wasn't a mistake. It was a signature hidden inside the work itself. Maya slowly looked up. Celeste had stolen the design, but unless she had completely dismantled the original garment, she would never know about the hidden stitch. Malik noticed Maya staring at the page. "What is it?" Maya closed the folder. "Maybe nothing." She wasn't ready to explain. Not yet. If Celeste heard about the hidden signature before the right moment, she would destroy every garment connected to the theft. Better to let the secret keep breathing. Across the atelier, Celeste pretended to congratulate another designer while never taking her eyes off Maya. The polished smile remained on her face, but one hand tightened around her phone until her knuckles turned pale beneath her bronze skin. She stepped into a quiet corner and made a call. "Move tonight," she said in a voice too low for anyone nearby to catch. "Before the review committee opens anything." The person on the other end must have asked a question because Celeste glanced once toward Maya's recovered portfolio. "No," she answered coldly. "Don't touch the girl. Make sure there's nothing left that can prove where those designs came from." She ended the call, slipped the phone into her evening bag, and returned to the ballroom wearing the same flawless smile that had made magazines call her the queen of American couture. But now that smile had changed meaning. It was no longer the smile of someone protecting a reputation. It was the smile of someone preparing a war. The first rumor reached Maya through a screen before it reached her through a face. She was still in the atelier, washing chalk from her fingers in a small porcelain sink, when the intern's phone buzzed 3 times on the cutting table. The girl glanced down, went still, then flipped the screen over too quickly. Maya saw enough. A headline from a fashion gossip account, already gaining hearts by the second. Royal Ball Scandal. Disqualified seamstress accused of stealing Celeste Vaughn concept. Maya dried her hands slowly. "Show me." The intern hesitated. "Miss Brooks." "Show me." The girl turned the phone around. There was a photo of Maya bent near the marble floor, reaching toward the torn label. Beside it was another image of Celeste on stage, elegant and wounded-looking, one hand pressed to her chest as if she had survived an attack. The caption said Maya had tried to pass off a Vaughn design as her own after gaining access through a charity finalist slot. Below it, strangers had already decided. Fraud. Clout chaser. Thrift store thief. This is why luxury brands need security. Maya felt something cold move through her ribs, but her hands stayed steady. She zoomed into the photo. The angle was wrong. Someone had taken it from behind the judge's table, before security escorted her out. Not a random guest. Someone with access. Across the room, Celeste entered with Ingrid Shaw and 2 board members, carrying a white folder sealed with a gold sticker. Her face wore sorrow now, not cruelty. Sorrow looked safer in public. "I hate that this has become unpleasant," Celeste said, loud enough for the atelier to hear. "Especially tonight, when this event is supposed to support young artists. But protecting original work matters." Ingrid looked tired. "Miss Vaughn has provided preliminary documentation." Celeste opened the folder. Inside were printed sketches of Maya's gown, redrawn cleaner, sharper, with Celeste Vaughn's logo in the bottom corner. There was a fabric invoice from an upscale supplier in Buckhead. There was even a time-stamped email, printed in color, showing Celeste had allegedly discussed the concept 2 months earlier. Maya stepped closer. "That invoice is for silk charmeuse." Celeste blinked. "Excuse me?" Maya pointed to the printed receipt. "My dress is satin, cotton lining, and 2 panels of acetate from a 1990s mother of the bride gown. Whoever made this fake didn't touch the fabric." A board member shifted, but Celeste recovered fast. "You would know how to imitate materials. That is what copyists do." The word copyist landed in the room like a stain. Malik was not there. Good, Maya thought. Let them reveal themselves without him. She looked at the sketches again, not arguing, studying. The redrawn version had perfect symmetry, but Celeste had missed the uneven left hip spiral. She had also drawn the hem with 12 copper loops instead of 13. Maya counted them twice. Her grandmother's old rule whispered in her memory. People who steal the picture never steal the reason. "I want the security footage from the atelier hallway," Maya said. Ingrid's mouth tightened. "That request must go through the board." "Then put my request in writing." Celeste laughed softly. "Now she gives orders." Maya turned to the intern. "Can you get me the staff incident sheet from the crystal box?" The girl swallowed, looked at Ingrid, then at Celeste. Fear pulled at her face, but she nodded once. That nod was small, but it was the first crack in Celeste's wall. Maya picked up her recovered portfolio and slid the remaining sketches into order. She removed 1 page, folded it, and tucked it inside the lining of her damaged thrift store dress. Then she took a photo of the fake invoice, the fake sketch, and Celeste's email printout before anyone could stop her. "You are not authorized to photograph confidential materials," Ingrid said. Maya lowered the phone. "And she was not authorized to steal my life's work." For 1 second, Ingrid had no answer. Then the ballroom doors opened behind them, and the sound of murmuring became a wave. A security supervisor stepped in with an envelope. "Mrs. Shaw, we received a formal complaint. Miss Brooks is accused of entering Miss Vaughn's private prep area and removing original design documents." He handed Ingrid a printed still image. Maya saw herself on it, standing near Celeste's rack earlier that evening. The photo had been cropped so the fallen crystal box, the intern, and Celeste's blocked walkway were gone. Only Maya remained, reaching toward a table she had never touched. Celeste covered her mouth as if heartbroken. I didn't want it to come to this. Ingrid looked at Maya, and this time her voice carried the weight of a verdict. Miss Brooks, until this is resolved, you are barred from the stage, the competition floor, and all designer areas. Maya's fingers closed around the hidden page inside her lining. Outside, the audience began chanting Celeste's name for the awards segment, while the only proof Maya still controlled rested against her own skin. Maya was escorted out through a side hallway where the carpet changed from royal blue to plain gray, as if the building itself knew when someone no longer belonged. The security supervisor did not touch her, but he walked close enough to make the message clear. 2 minutes ago, she had been a finalist. Now her badge was clipped in half at the plastic holder and dropped into a trash can beside the staff elevator. The sound was small, almost polite. That made it worse. Behind the ballroom doors, Celeste's name rose again in applause, polished by a crowd that loved a clean villain only after someone powerful named one. For them. Maya stopped near the garment repair station, the last place she was still allowed to stand. The young intern was there, crying silently while trying to zip herself into a simple black presentation dress with one broken strap. Go, the girl whispered. They'll blame you for helping me too. Maya looked at the crooked strap, then at the clock above the exit. Celeste would be on stage in less than 10 minutes. Every sensible part of Maya told her to leave, protect the hidden page, and find a lawyer in the morning. Instead, she picked up a needle. Turn around. The girl froze. Miss Brooks, you don't have to. Maya, she said. And yes, I do. No cameras watched them. No judges stood nearby. No prince was there to admire her kindness. Maya knotted black thread, folded the torn strap inward, and stitched it down with tiny, clean pulls. The intern held still, breathing in little broken pieces. My name is Tasha, she said after a moment. Tasha Reed. Maya nodded. Then stand straight, Tasha Reed. Don't let them make you small in a dress I just fixed. Tasha gave a wet laugh, and Maya almost smiled. Then something scraped beneath the steam table. Tasha bent to pick it up, but Maya stopped her. A curled strip of fabric lay wedged between the metal leg and the wall, half burned at one end, copper-black threads still caught in the torn edge. Maya's breath changed. It was not the thrift store label Celeste had held up. It was the inner maker tag Maya had sewn beneath the lining, the one Celeste must have ripped away before realizing it carried a handwritten notation in fading gold ink. Second stitch, MB, left hip spiral. Maya lifted it with both fingers like evidence from a crime scene. The old clue became something new. Celeste had not torn the tag to mock the dress. She had torn it because the tag named the design. Footsteps came fast down the hallway. Prince Malik appeared, no longer calm, his tuxedo jacket open, a phone in one hand. He stopped when he saw the clipped badge in the trash, then the needle in Maya's hand, then Tasha's repaired strap. Shame crossed his face before words did. I should have stopped them from removing you. Maya kept the tag, flat against her palm. Yes. The answer was quiet. It landed harder than anger. Malik swallowed. I was with the foundation attorney. I thought if I followed process. Process is what they used to drag me out. He looked down. For the first time all night, power had no elegant posture on him. Maya did not comfort him. She could respect his caution and still name the cost. Do you believe me because I'm crying in a hallway? She asked. Or because you have something you can prove? Malik lifted his phone. I have the blind portfolio timestamp from the trust server. But it is not enough alone. Maya opened her hand. The torn maker tag rested there, small, ugly, and alive with truth. Tasha wiped her face and stepped forward. I saw Miss Vaughn's assistant take the folder, and I signed the crystal incident sheet before they changed the story. Maya looked at her. Can you get it? Tasha nodded, fear still in her eyes, but something stronger underneath. The first copy goes to staff records before Mrs. Shaw sees it. Maya folded the hidden sketch page from her dress lining and placed it beside the torn tag. The page, the tag, the server timestamp, Tasha's incident sheet. Separate, they were fragile. Together, they started to breathe. Malik looked toward the ballroom as Celeste's acceptance music began. We can still stop the award. Maya picked up her broken badge from the trash and slid it into her palm with the tag. No, she said. We don't stop it in the hallway. She turned toward the service stairs, not the exit. We let her climb on stage first. Then we make the room that laughed at me listen. Maya took the service stairs 2 at a time, not running from shame now, but toward it. Tasha slipped into staff records while Malik called the foundation attorney and demanded the blind portfolio packet be opened on a verified tablet. Not a printed copy anyone could alter. When they met behind the ballroom screen wall, each person carried one piece of the truth. Tasha had the original crystal incident sheet with Maya's statement written before Celeste's complaint. Malik had the server timestamp showing finalist 12 submitted the gown design 6 weeks before. Celeste's fake email. Maya had the torn maker tag, the hidden sketch page, and the one thing no lawyer could explain without her. The imperfect 13th copper loop sewn under the left hip. She copied 12, Maya said, pointing to Celeste's printed sketch. Because 12 looks cleaner. But I always stitch 13. My grandmother said the last loop belongs to the maker, not the buyer. Malik looked at the tablet, then at the dress. Show me. Maya lifted the damaged thrift-store gown under the work light. Beneath the torn seam, almost invisible against brown satin, 13 copper-black loops curved like a quiet signature. Malik did not smile. He took a photo, checked the metadata, and handed the phone to the attorney. Now it survives money, he said. Inside the ballroom, Celeste Vaughn stood beneath the royal crest with both hands on the award plaque. The same crowd that had laughed at Maya now leaned forward as Celeste spoke about protecting original black artistry from imitation. Malik stepped onto the stage before the applause finished. The music cut. Celeste's smile froze. Your Highness. He did not take the microphone from her. He placed a second microphone beside Maya, who had walked up from the side stairs in her torn dress, broken badge clipped back to her waist. A ripple moved through the room. Ingrid Shaw rose halfway from her chair. This is highly irregular. Maya looked at the judge's table. So was disqualifying me with edited evidence. Celeste laughed softly for the cameras. This is painful. I understand humiliation can make people desperate. Malik turned to the screen. Then let the evidence speak before anyone else does. First came the fake invoice. Maya explained the fabric mismatch, holding a scrap of her satin beside Celeste's listed silk charmeuse. Then came the fake sketch. 12 loops enlarged on screen beside the 13 hidden in Maya's seam. Celeste's face tightened. Decorative variations prove nothing. Malik nodded once. Agreed. The next slide showed the blind portfolio timestamp from the trust server, locked weeks before Celeste's claimed email. A murmur hit the room. Celeste lifted her chin. Assistants prepare. Drafts all the time. Then your assistant should appear before you had access, Maya said. The screen changed to hallway footage. Celeste's assistant sliding Maya's folder from beneath the atelier table while Celeste blocked the camera with her body. Celeste reached for the microphone. That footage is out of context. Tasha stepped forward, voice shaking but clear. So was the photo you used against her. The original incident sheet appeared next, with Tasha's signature and Maya's statement. Then the cropped accusation photo appeared beside the full image, revealing the fallen crystal box, the blocked walkway, and Maya nowhere near Celeste's private table. Ingrid's hand covered her mouth. The crowd that had laughed now had no sound left. Celeste looked at Malik. You are choosing sentiment over standards. Maya picked up the torn maker tag and held it under the camera. The gold ink filled the screen. Second stitch, MB, left hip spiral. No, Maya said. He checked the standards. You forgot the stitch. Malik turned to Celeste one final time. Do you deny removing this tag from her dress? Celeste opened her mouth. Her eyes flicked to the screen, to the camera, to the assistant who was already backing away. I was protecting the integrity of the event, she said. The words came out before she understood what they admitted. A gasp traveled through the ballroom. Maya stood beneath the same chandeliers where her label had fallen like trash, and this time no one could pretend they had not seen whose hands tore it away. Celeste's award plaque was not taken from her with a dramatic speech. Ingrid Shaw removed it quietly with both hands, while the cameras kept rolling. That quietness made the room feel heavier. Celeste tried to follow Malik off the stage, whispering about lawyers and misunderstandings, but the foundation attorney was already waiting at the stairs. Her royal contract was suspended that night. Her grant seat was revoked. By morning, the board would file a formal complaint for forged documents, defamation, and stolen design work. Her assistant, shaking beside the curtain, was offered protection only after agreeing to give a full statement. Ingrid returned to the microphone with her posture still perfect, but her voice no longer was. "Miss Brooks," she said, facing Maya in front of everyone. "I protected reputation when I should have protected truth. I am sorry." Maya looked at the woman who had signed her removal, then at the judges who had watched her badge get cut in half. "An apology is a start," Maya said. "But I don't want this to happen to the next girl with no famous last name." No one clapped. They listened, which felt better. Malik stepped beside her, not in front of her. "The Royal Young Designers Grant will adopt a public evidence review, staff witness protections, and copyright support for every finalist," he said. Then he turned to Maya. "Only if you agree to help design it." Maya studied him. The offer was large, but for once, it did not feel like a rescue. It felt like a door with the handle on her side. "I'll help," she said, "with a contract, my name on my work, and Tasha on the paid advisory team." Tasha, still in the repaired black dress, covered her mouth. Malik nodded without hesitation. "Done." Later, when the ballroom had emptied of gossip and gold shoes, Maya stood alone near the place where Celeste had torn the label from her dress. The tiny thrift store tag had been placed in a clear evidence sleeve, but Maya asked for it back before she left. Not to hide it, to keep it. Malik found her by the marble steps, holding the tag between two fingers. "I failed you before I helped you," he said. Maya did not soften the truth for him. "Yes, you did." He accepted it without defense. "Then I'll earn trust slowly." Maya looked toward the stage where workers were removing Celeste's name from the backdrop. "Slowly is the only way it counts." Weeks later, the same museum displayed Maya's thrift store gown beneath soft white lights. The torn seam had not been hidden. She had stitched around it with copper black thread, letting the damage remain visible, mended but not erased. Beside it was a new sign, the Second Stitch Grant for young designers who turned discarded things into undeniable art. Tasha became the first recipient. Ingrid signed the new review policy in public. Celeste's empty display case stayed empty for the rest of the season, not as revenge, but as a warning. On opening night, a little black girl pressed her hands to the glass and stared at Maya's dress like it was something royal. Her mother whispered, "That was made from thrift store fabric." The girl smiled. "No," she said, "that was made from proof." Maya heard it from a few feet away. She touched the old label sewn back inside the gown. No longer a mark of shame, and for the first time that night, she let herself breathe.